Today, I'm going to give you the pros and the cons of living in Houston, Texas. Because chances are, if you are watching this video, you don't know if Houston is a good city for you or not. And I don't know if it is for you or not either. So what I'm going to do is leverage my 9 years of living in Houston, and I'm going to give you 7 pros and 7 cons of living in this city. And so by the end of this video, you should have a pretty good idea if this is the right city for you or not. And I promise you, you're gonna wanna stick around for every single one, because if you do plan on living in Houston, Texas at any point, these will affect you.
Let's get into it.
My first pro is that there are a ton of job opportunities in Houston, Texas. We have one of the largest medical centers in the nation. We have tons of oil and gas companies headquartered here, and our energy sector is one of the biggest in Texas. So there are endless, unlimited opportunities and growth and chances to grow here if you are looking for that. When I graduated college in Michigan, I started off with a $30,000 a year starter job. And to me, that was the height of my career until I moved to Houston. And I used that experience to find myself a job that paid me $50,000 a year. And then I used that experience to get me another job that then paid me $70,000 a year. So all that is just to say, if you guys are looking for opportunities and chances to grow, you're gonna find tons of those opportunities here in Houston. My second pro is Houston's economic growth. The city has a strong economy that attracts a ton of businesses. Houston is home to 14 of the Fortune 500 companies. And on top of that, Houston is considered a low cost of living area. So you have a combination of a strong economy and a low cost of living that equals a pretty good life.
I'm so happy.
My third pro of Houston is its cultural diversity. Houston is easily one of the most diverse cities in the United States, probably in the world. The city is just a huge melting pot. Literally, you can discover and be involved with so many different cultures and traditions that it can be kind of overwhelming at first. But if you are open and you want to explore a lot of different lifestyles, this is the place to be. There are so many different activities and festivals happening that celebrate so many different types of people and cultures. So if you want to expand and be more culturally diverse, come to Houston.
Cultured. I'm sophisticated.
My fourth pro, and this kind of runs off of Houston being so cultural, is Houston's food scene. One of the biggest benefits of Houston being so diverse is that we have so many different food styles and so many different cuisine and types of food here to experience. It's crazy. We have Mexican, Chinese, you've got Indian food, Tex-Mex, Cajun food. It's endless. And the coolest thing about this being so diverse and there being so many different types of food is that now these different styles are starting to combine and create completely new styles of food that you never would have thought of.
Combined into infinite combinations.
One of my favorite restaurants is Oh My Gogi, which is a Korean Mexican fusion. It's a food truck. And they have like this kimchi bulgogi French fry with like a salsa. It is amazing. It is so good. I believe Houston's food scene is top notch. I think it's better than New York, San Francisco, LA's. I think it is top of its game. And I will challenge anyone that says otherwise.
Come at me, bro.
My fifth pro of living in Houston, Texas is our education. Houston is home to 2 very top-notch universities, both in Rice Village, both in Rice University and University of Houston, Goku. And if you're into sports, University of Houston has been killing it both in football and basketball. So if you guys are following those kind of sports, that's a really fun team to watch. Not just our universities are good, but our school districts here are some of the highest rated in Texas. So if you were to go online, check them out on niche.com, and you're to do a little bit of research on the school districts in Houston, Texas, you're gonna find that a lot of these school districts are ranked pretty highly.
And knowledge is power.
My sixth pro is going to be Houston's arts and culture scene. The city has a vibrant arts and cultural scene here. We have an entire museum district dedicated to our museums. We've got the Museum of Fine Arts out there with the Glassell School of Arts. We have the High School of Performing Visual Arts, and there's tons of theaters and galleries out there as well. We have Miller Brown Theater, that's an outside theater. Lots of great shows playing out there. We have a huge zoo with some great exhibits. And so there's a lot of great types of museums and zoos and things like that to do that you can enjoy here in Houston. And pro tip, our museums are all free on Thursdays. And 7, my last pro and my personal favorite is Houston's warm climate. So if you enjoy warmer weather, Houston is definitely going to be the place for you. So I grew up in Michigan where it was freaking winter and cold for 7 months out of the year, and I got real sick of that real fast. Here in Houston, it is flip-flop. It is going to be stinking hot 7 months out of the year, and we might be cold for maybe like a month or two here. So if you want to escape the snow, you want to escape the ice, you want to quit scraping ice off of your car, come to Houston because you're never going to deal with that ever again. By the way, guys, if you have made it this far through the list and you're liking this, please consider liking and subscribing because this is going to help the channel out a lot, and I want to pump out as much information as possible out to you guys who are looking to research Houston, Texas. So I want to make sure this gets in front of a lot of people, and so your help is very appreciated. All right, now that we got all the good stuff out of the way, let's start talking about some of the bad stuff about living in Houston, Texas. So let's jump right into the cons. My first con is going to be the hurricane risk. Yes, Houston is a coastal state, which means we are prone to hurricanes and floods. And this risk can be a really significant concern for anyone who lives in this state or in this city. I mean, we saw firsthand how bad it can get when Hurricane Harvey hit us in 2017. In the blink of an eye, your house can be flooded, you can lose a lot of things, and it can be very tragic. So to prepare for this, when you're looking for a home, ask about the flood history and ask if the home is in a flood zone. This will help you a lot with where you live in Houston. My number 2 con is the traffic congestion. This city has grown so much in the last few years, which means a bigger population, which means more people on the roads, which means more crowded streets. And this one has just been a bane of my existence. In the mornings, I can't even take the highway to work anymore because it's just so crowded. So now I have to take the back roads all the way up and drive through like 20, 30 different traffic lights. But that is still faster than taking the highway to work. And there has also been a huge uptick in road rage incidents. It seems like every other day you hear a story about somebody doing some kind of dumb crime because some guy cut them off. So definitely, guys, be careful out there if you're driving. If someone cuts you off, let them go. If someone's doing anything, just let them go. It's not worth it. Number 3, my third con is going to be Houston's humidity. Houston has a really high humidity level because we are so close to the ocean. So it can be really uncomfortable for people. It's really uncomfortable for me, especially when it gets really hot in the summer because, man, it just feels like a freaking hot sauna. It gets harder to breathe. And if you're the kind of person who likes to work out outside, like I tried to do some running during the summer, that can be really hard because not only is it really hot, it's also just really heavy in the air. It's really thick to breathe it in, and it just feels gross. And honestly, the worst thing about it is that there's not really much you can do to make it any better outside of just staying inside, really. My 4th con is going to be Houston's lack of public transport. And so now whenever I talk to somebody who has been moving in from out of state, from like California or New York or Chicago, the number 1 complaint is that Houston is just not public transportation friendly. Like, we have a metro system and there are some bus lines and there are some rails that can get you around in like downtown and the medical center. But if you've been to like San Francisco and you're used to the BART system out there, or you've been to New York with their subways and their bus systems, we don't have anything nearly as comprehensive or as organized as that. And Houston in general is just not a very walkable city as well. So you're not gonna get around very far on a bike or a skateboard or an e-bike. You can get around your neighborhood, but you're not gonna get around the city very easily.
Just going for a little ride.
My number 5 con is going to be Houston's urban sprawl. Now this kind of ties into what I was talking about before, where you can't really get around from city to city or neighborhood to neighborhood on like a bike or a skateboard, because the way Houston has been designed and the way it's been growing, it's just, everything is just so spread apart now. You've got suburbs like Katy that are now 40 minutes away from downtown Houston. You've got the Woodlands, which is 40 minutes north, which is also 40 minutes away from downtown. And then to even go from like the Woodlands down to Galveston, that's gonna take you about an hour, hour and a half. So everything is just so so spread out now that you almost have to have a car to get around. There's just no getting around that. My sixth con is gonna be Houston's extreme weather. So outside of floods and hurricanes, Houston can experience some pretty extreme weather. So this last summer of 2023, that was one of the hottest summers we've ever had on record. It was 3 months straight of 100+ degree weather every single day. It was freaking hot. And then 2 years before that, Houston froze over. It was the first freeze we had in maybe like a decade, or 20 years or so. It's been a long time since it ever happened. But we had a week where we were below freezing temperatures, and that never happened. And so when that happened, our power went out, people's pipes started bursting, and it was a complete catastrophe. So these huge shifts and these big changes in weather can be pretty drastic here. I held off on buying a generator for so long, but our power just kept knocking out so much between the rolling blackouts, the winter freezes, and the hot summers that I just had to buy my own generator just so I can back up my house's power.
What we need is more power.
My last con is going to be the property taxes in Houston. Now, Houston and Texas, you're going to be paying, excuse me. The property taxes in Texas can be very high compared to some of these other states. And that might be a huge financial burden for some future homeowners. Our average tax rate is our average is about 3%. I've seen homes as low as 2.5% and then homes as high as 3.5%. And usually the homes that have the 2.5% tax rate are in more established neighborhoods. Those are already built out, they're finished, they're established. Whereas the ones that have the 3.5% are in communities that are newer, upcoming, and still developing, so they need more of those tax dollars to grow. I actually ran into this issue recently where I had a client who was moving in from Washington, D.C., and he got pre-approved in D.C. for $400,000. And then he came here to look for a home in Texas, in Houston, and so he had to get pre-approved in Houston. But what he didn't realize is that because our taxes are so different and so much more than where he was living in D.C., he actually qualified for less home here. He pre-qualified for like $330 here in Houston. So keep that in mind. If you guys are getting pre-approved and moving in from out of state, get pre-approved in Texas by a Texas lender. So that is all I've got for my pros and my cons of living in Houston, Texas. And hopefully you guys have found this helpful, and now maybe you have a better idea of whether or not Houston is a good fit for you or not. And if you did, consider hitting that like button down there so it'll help me and it'll help push my video out to others who might need this kind of information. And if you guys are also thinking about moving to Houston, Texas, or you guys are looking to do some more research, make sure you check out my other videos on my channel. I'm gonna link some videos now. And also reach out if you guys need help. If you have any questions or you don't know about the housing market down here, or you need help looking for a home down here, definitely reach out. I am more than glad to help you guys out. But for now, I will see you guys next time.